Hi, I'm Jack Baruzzini, and you're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. Joining me today are Lisa Jones, hi Lisa, and Victor Lambs. Hello, Victor. Today we are discussing the third episode of Season 7, Fragile Balance. Can you tell us about this episode, Victor?
Well, at the start of the episode, we start with a good twist before the intro. We see Jack as young Jack. Later in the episode, we supposedly learn that he is Jack, but young. How he'd eaten a beer, some takeout food, and then went into bed and woke up young. He said he saw 4 lights, so SG1 went to many houses and asked about the 4 lights. They thought it was the Asgard, and turns out it was a renegade Asgard. And young Jack was apparently gonna die. But then they find older Jack on the Asgard ship, and older Jack and young Jack speak pretty similar words and have very similar opinions. I guess that kind of goes to show because they are the same person, basically. Older Jack wants young Jack to survive, so they call for Thor. At first, he doesn't respond. Then he comes, and he basically fixes young Jack, and the original Jack sends young Jack off to high school.
What do you think about this episode, Lisa?
I thought it was a great dynamic between the main cast. You know, they're teasing Jack about being young and they don't believe him, and honestly it's just a great representation about what the show has come to with like the characters, because you know it's funny. It's funny the way they're teasing him, the way they're treating him, and also it was a good episode. It was genuinely a fun little enjoyable episode.
What are your thoughts on this episode, Lisa?
This was a really fun episode. It was just lighthearted, and it's such a creative way to handle an episode when one of your lead actors can't be there. And so the fact that they jumped in and did all the sci-fi tropes and made it a teenager, and of course no one believed it was him, so that was awesome. And I don't know. It's one of my favorite episodes. It's really fun.
Yeah, I was impressed by how well the actor who played young Jack was able to mimic Richard Dean Anderson's mannerisms.
Oh, yeah.
He nailed it. What about you, Victor?
Yeah, I have to agree. It's a great, fun, lighthearted episode, and it gives us more insight into the Asgard. We get to see Jacob again, but even apart from what it brings to the mythos of Stargate, it is just a lot of fun, and like you said, the actor they have playing young Jack there is just spot on with his mannerisms. Peter DeLuise directed this episode, and you can tell he probably invested a lot of time coaching and directing.
Michael Welch,
yeah. And how to act like Jack. And I don't know how much time he had with Richard Dean Anderson to be coached that way too, but it was very, very effective.
Yes, very convincing.
Mm-hmm.
It's also nice to see the Asgard not being a monolithic entity anymore,
mm-hmm.
where it's not just they're the Asgard and they do this one particular thing. We have outliers who are going against the rest of their mandates, and I like to see that. And I also like that it's Loki, because obviously that ties into the god of mischief, and he stays true to his namesake.
Yeah. So before we get there, it opens up, with there's an intruder at the base. Is that it? Yeah, they have a person in custody. They go down to the holding cell, and there's this kid there who seems to know more about the SGC than he should, and is able to convince them pretty quickly that he is Jack O'Neill. They say he's certainly loud and grating enough to be, and to their credit, like they don't automatically doubt him. It's not like Jonas with the invisible bugs again.
I do like because initially they're pretty skeptical of it, and Daniel brings up that we've had our bodies swapped, Jax turns old, we've been turned into robots, like all these different crazy things happen, and this really is not a bridge too far, given everything else that happens with them.
No. And I love that he says, just get to the part where Frasier examines me and let's move on.
Yes.
Yeah, I did like that exchange. Teal'c says, we've been in weirder situations before, and Teal'c goes, name one, and then Daniel just lists them all off, one right after another.
The show's always very good at being self-aware about those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was it seems like his young Jack's main objective throughout the episode is getting beer.
Right. That's a lot of beer reference.
He's like the Trix rabbit there.
Yep.
Yeah.
He gets denied over and over again.
It is funny because he is supposed to be, they said he's like 45, which in reality, I think Richard Dean Anderson was much older than that when he filmed it. But, he's supposed to be this middle-aged man. But as young Jack, he kind of acts like a teenager Jack, right? Or maybe the problem is that middle-aged Jack acts like a teenager, and so now he's just a teenager acting like a teenager. I don't know. But I love that he's sitting there trying to get someone to buy. I mean, like, you have a fake ID on you,
Yeah.
But he's trying to get someone to buy beer for him, and their first response is basically to call Dad.
Yep.
You can rat him out.
Yeah, and it's it does get into, like, it's mostly a lighthearted comedy episode, but it does get into some existential horror when you discover that this is not young Jack, it is cloned Jack.
Yeah.
And he's young, and that's just, they could have leaned a bit more into that, but that kind of would have, I feel like that would have messed up the tone of the episode, but I do want to know. I want to know more about his life as he goes on. So that's what they could do for a Stargate reboot. Bring him back.
There you go. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, because he would be 35, 30, 37 now, which would be perfect age to be leading up a SGC team or something. So if they want to have a second Jack O'Neill. No, and I like how his condition is a mistake on Loki's part, right? Because the Asgard put like a safety switch in Jack's DNA to keep him from being cloned, and so Loki doesn't know that and clones Jack and sends him, home for a few days to take real Jack's place, and of course doesn't realize that he sent home a teenager.
Yeah.
And I just looked up Michael Welch, the actor, and he's still out there working. So
good.
Maybe he's available.
Doing some Hallmark movies up in Vancouver.
He was in the Quantum Leap reboot, apparently, in one of the episodes. So
Cool.
Yeah, I did read that they wanted to bring him back. They loved. I mean, he really nailed the character. And they wanted to bring him back. They just, it just never, one of those things that just never worked out. But that they did try to come up with stories to bring him back right away. That would have been, especially, I guess it's not a spoiler because this was 20 years ago, but, knowing that we're about to have a lot of non-Jack episodes, this would have really been great.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it was Richard Dean Anderson not available for a while, or...
That's what I read, is that he wasn't available for this episode. And so they were trying to be creative in, sci-fi way, creative to have him still be present, even though the actor wasn't available, except for they said 1 or 2 days to shoot.
Okay. Yeah, like the line they regarding his condition, you say it is a cliche almost if you watch enough TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Regarding the alien abductions and stuff too.
Yeah. I know. And you think about what you said earlier, Jack, about how they don't take themselves, they're pretty aware. I mean, they just made an episode that basically copies all of these alien abductions that nobody ever believes, and you read in the tabloids and stuff. And here they're like, okay, let's make a plot out of this.
Yeah, they're not gonna. I do wonder though, with young Jack, are they gonna have to, like, I assume he has to sign some NDAs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What
But-
name did they give him? They
Yeah.
put him up in a house, an apartment. They paid for his college. I know I have so many questions.
Yeah.
It is also a bit creepy that
Yes.
he goes to high school and he's like, hey, there's high school girls, and he's physically 15, but mentally he's a 45, 50-year-old man. So
Yeah. That part was a little icky.
a little skeezy.
Yeah.
But I guess they're aiming for, you're looking at grown Jack and teenage Jack, so you're supposed to just mentally shift that he's really just a teenager now. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess they could have like mind wiped him or something, or like now he has memories consistent with the Earth 15-year-old or something. I don't know.
Yeah. What
Then
I
he-
did, he
yeah.
gets out of the car and
Yeah.
puts those sunglasses on
Yeah.
and like goes over to the girl. Just cracks me up.
Yeah.
I feel like since I know they don't bring the actor back, but I feel like he would also be a target for the the Gould.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He'd be a very valuable asset.
Yeah, or even the NID too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to
Oh,
say,
yeah.
the NID would find out about this. So maybe that was one of the stories they were trying to spin to bring him back. That would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah. I did like the X302 briefing because, Jack's been relieved of duty, but he was supposed to give this briefing on the X302s, how they perform in combat. And so instead it's Carter in front of, these pilots, also captains and majors sitting in the room. And, they're very serious about, learning as much as they can because it's going to be their lives on the line as soon as they, get into one of these things. But, for all of her, ability as a pilot, Carter hasn't had the same experience in the X302 that Jack has. And so they're really hoping to get Jack's perspective. And Carter is kind of bombing in front of him, which I thought it was an effective scene. It's not one where, Carter is like super good at everything. She can explain how the inertial dampeners work because she probably designed them, but it's up to Jack to explain that they're only about 90% effective, when you're pulling negative G's in them. So, so Jack does talk his way into the briefing room after being accosted by the guards. And we get another great callback line there, where he says, I realize it doesn't say Colonel anywhere on my uniform, but it should. So
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that's the third or fourth variation on that line that we've had so far.
And when Jack says, if they're going to work here, they're going to have to get used to things being
Yeah.
odd, which I thought was kind of true.
I do find it kind of weird, though, that none of the people seem to be taking Carter seriously when,
Yeah.
even though she's been on the team since the beginning, like they should still be taking her seriously, but it seems like they just shut her down immediately. So
I agree. I thought
I
they were
didn't like that.
little rude considering her rank and her experience.
Yeah. On the other, they're flyboys, right? And it's, their lives are going to depend on, everything that they can learn in this briefing. And obviously the sort of information she can provide isn't what they were looking for in that respect. But yeah, it was very kind of tense and, it's always uncomfortable to see Carter put in those situations.
mm-hmm. Yeah, but Jack put them in their place pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll listen to a teenage Jack, but not a,
Yeah.
Air Force. What was she, a captain at this point? Major?
She's a major. Yeah.
Major. Yeah.
and so with the reveal that he's going to die because he's not cellularly stable, I wasn't hoping, but I was figuring that they were going to do something like he's getting younger and younger, and I'm glad they didn't go with that.
Oh no,
'cause-
Benjamin buttons himself
Yeah.
out of existence or something.
Yeah.
He's a space baby. Like
So I'm
2001
glad they
or
didn't go
something.
with that. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
because we have here's the Star Trek reference for the episode, the Next Generation episode where Picard and Guinan and I think Ro
Oh no. Yeah.
get turned into kids. I hate that episode so much, and this does that concept much better. And I think that's because he's a teenager and not like a 5-year-old.
Yeah. Who would replace themselves on a show with a bunch of kids?
Yeah.
No.
It's just a really,
No.
it's a cheap move.
Like that would be like terrible.
It would.
It's just a way to get out of recording.
I know. Just to give people a break once in a while.
Yep.
And they bring in Jacob, who is just like the perfect like extra spicy element to add to the stew, because he takes one look at Jack and goes like, "What would anyone hope to possibly gain by this? By creating a young Jack? It's not just even like creating a clone; it's like creating a young clone of Jack." It's
Yeah.
yeah.
And then to like rub salt in the wound, not only Jack is now a teenager and everything else, but you're going to bring in the Tok'ra and talk about how they're going to help you again.
Yeah.
Really?
And Jack is very emphatic. He will never ever have another symbiote, never again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he can rescue another girlfriend he never met.
Yep.
And get back in the abyss or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts acting more. I don't know. They don't really like point this out specifically, but it seems like he starts acting more like a teenager throughout the episode. Like he's playing video games and listening to rock music. And I don't know if that was just Richard. It's just Jack O'Neill being Jack O'Neill, but funny that they highlighted that.
Yeah, that's what's hard to tell. Like, did he become more teenager, or was adult Jack always like a teenager? And you're just seeing it because he is a teenager. I don't know.
I'm going to go with that option.
Yeah. But it was kind of fun to see them both together
Mm-hmm.
at the very end. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was the highlight of the episode, was him and Jack together.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like how they bring old Jack back into it, and Duplicate O'Neill, I think, is what they were once they realize he's a clone, and they could have come up with like a better name, but that's I think Jack. They settle on Little Jack. They settle on Duplicate O'Neill or something.
Yeah, and Jack calls him. He says, "What they created a mini me."
Yeah,
that was kind of funny.
And I love when they realize he's dying, and they go to see him, Duplicate O'Neill, and Daniel's like, "Look, there's just no easy way to tell you this, so Sam's just going to come right out and say it." I just thought that was a nice line to give Michael Shanks. Yep.
Yes. That was great, because that's the dynamic we've missed with Michael Shanks being gone. I always say it's kind of like the sibling relationship, that way that they're, that sounds like something my kids would do. They'd be like, "No, you tell mom. No, you tell mom,"
Yeah. And of course we get Carter trying to go into the deep explanation of it, and he just wants the straight truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do love that Carter, at the beginning at least, was having a little fun with, needling him that he was a teenager. And he's just like, "That's sir."
Yeah, exactly.
And she stopped, but then she still, advised him to have as much fun with it as they are. As much fun as they're having with it.
Yeah.
Which was kind of, I like that. Wasn't he? And then Christopher Judge couldn't keep a straight face, if you noticed. When he was talking, he's got this smirk on his face, which is very Unteal'c-like.
The quiet amusement.
Yeah.
I liked that.
And then they realize that it is the Asgard. I kind of like the way that's revealed too, with the "there are four lights" scene. They don't go full Captain Picard there, but I do like that sequence where they're interviewing the former abductees, because this has happened before, where people have disappeared, have seen similar things, and I do like the way they use the database to narrow it down. And then when they're doing the interviews, they do that trick, where like they're talking to like four different people, and they, the conversation, seamlessly moves from one person into the other one and stuff. So yeah, I thought that was nicely done too, as they kind of work out what's going on here, and that they've all kind of seen Asgard in their abductions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that I saw on the wiki was that the actor Michael Welch had never watched any Stargate before taking on this role, which makes it even more impressive. And I guess he worked a lot with Peter DeLuise to learn how to emulate Richard Dean Anderson. So considering the fact that he hadn't seen any of the show before this, that's makes it even more impressive.
And that's the advantage too of having like an accomplished actor and a comedic actor as the director too, is I think Peter DeLuise is just able to get such great performances out of even the guests on the show.
Yeah.
Who, as you said, might not know, the rich mythos and character interactions of Stargate.
Wait, you mean the actors on the show aren't as obsessed with it as the fans are?
I don't know. Yeah. I'm trying to think, like, if you were obsessed with like the show, I don't know if that would be a good thing. I know Peter Capaldi was obsessed with like Doctor Who, but I don't know to like what extent he was by the time he was the Doctor. I don't know if that makes the show better or worse if your actor is like, no, like Picard would never. Well, yeah, we've seen Picard seasons 1 and 2, and I guess we know what happens.
Yeah.
We know what happens when.
I was about to say, I think the director would probably hate it.
Yeah,
to have a obsessed actor. But I would say I want to see the behind the scenes of Peter DeLuise, instructing him on. I want to see Peter DeLuise do Jack O'Neill to teach Michael Welch. That's what I want to see. I want to see that outtake or behind the scenes.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Maybe it's on one of Malazzi's tapes.
Yeah.
Because, we'll have to see if...
I haven't gone back and looked at the DVDs in a long time because it's really hard to hook up a DVD player these days. So
it is. It's like... I got like 3 of them in the garage and stuff, and it's just I gotta go find which box they're in.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, which TV can I hook that up to? Yeah. So I need to go back and watch what the behind the scenes was on this one.
Yeah, and maybe there's some commentary too.
I'm doing this live.
You've got it.
Yeah.
You've got the DVD.
Director's commentary watch along for the next.
So we have commentary for each episode, and that's it.
Does it say who does the commentary for each episode? Is there a little booklet or?
It doesn't. I need to start watching them with the commentary though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be fun for this one to see if it is Peter DeLuise doing the commentary or who.
Yeah, that's true. That would be a lot of fun. Like I said, when I find my DVD player, I will somehow plug it in.
Not a lot of love for the Asgard in this episode once they realize what's going on.
No.
Daniel at one point has a rude name for them.
Oh, yes. The overimposition of the first syllable there.
Yes. Mispronunciation of the as in Asgard. Jack makes a reference, at least 2 references to their hindquarters. Older Jack does at least. And when he finds out young duplicate Jack or young Jack, it's like, well, the only person who would know would be the Asgard scientist. He's like, fine, give me a 9 mil. I'll get it out of the little sucker, which I thought was a great line coming from. Like, he's just like, it's a little, cute and charming when old Jack says it, but when 15-year-old Jack says it, it's just like, yeah, okay. Nobody give this kid a gun.
No.
But,
yeah, I guess that's looking back, that's a good thing. They gave him a Zat instead.
Yeah. Which I love that too. I love that, it's when he's Zat's Loki, because we get a nice mix of like CG Asgard and then puppet Asgard in this one too. Whenever the Asgard are walking, it's CG, and whenever they're strapped to a table, it's puppet. But we get this great shot where, you don't see young Jack zatting Loki, you just see Loki walking along, then he gets hit with the blast, and he does like this really like kind of like almost Looney Tunes, like his tongue starts to loll out, and he does this comedic kind of like spin and fall to the floor. It's pretty subtle, but it's also really funny. The animators had some fun with that.
I feel like the Asgard are the closest non-Star Wars Muppets we get in terms of their physicality, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and like I said, when they are puppets in this, it's you could tell because the head doesn't sit on the neck completely right, but it is. I love the puppet Asgard; they're just so well done. And I don't know who was the voice of Loki in this one.
That was Peter DeLuise. Yeah.
Oh, there he goes. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go.
So that just adds to it.
Yeah, it does. And we get a nice callback to the, as you called him, the handsome Squidward. Asgard progenitor. And humans are pretty similar to the former Asgard from tens of thousands of years ago, before all the degenerative cloning.
This is what happens with technology.
Yeah. As they've said before, making the copy of the copy of the copy, which I don't know if that really resonates with kids today.
I don't know. Like, pixel degradation is a real thing, because people don't actually do one-to-one copies. They'll screenshot and then screenshot the screenshot and then I think there's a whole XKCD comic about that. Digital rot. So
I was thinking like those pale purple dittos, like your teachers used to do in the
Oh,
classroom.
yeah.
You know, before
Yeah.
Xerox, before the actual copy machines.
If you got the end of the run, yours was looking pretty.
Some of them
Pretty
were
rough.
a little smudgy. Yeah.
that was before my time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do we have any fun alternate language titles for this episode?
Yeah, we do. Interestingly enough, most of them were some variation of fragile balance, but in French we get and I'm not going to pronounce this right, but l'apprenti sorcier, which is the sorcerer's apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you want to know more about the Sorcerer's Apprentice and not the original Goethe poem, but the actual one that animated sequence from Fantasia, we just did a Secrets of Movie and TV on Fantasia. So that is out now, and you can find it on the SQPN website. But the best one, of course, goes to German. Language title for this is Der falsche Klon, which is the false clone.
Give it away.
Yeah.
Come on.
The wrong clone or whatever. Yeah.
It wasn't like Das Kinderjack or something.
Das Kinderjack. Das Kinder. No, the false clone. So yeah, that does kind of give it away.
Yeah.
But that doesn't. I'm gonna have to call that title out a bit because it's not a false clone. He's an actual clone. What's
true.
false about him?
Yeah, Jack's not a. I mean, real Jack isn't a clone, but I don't know.
He's an actual clone.
Yeah,
Clone with a mistake.
yeah. Maybe that's it. Like the wrong. Yeah.
Didn't let him bake at 350 degrees for 25 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Did y'all have any other thoughts on this episode?
Just like you said, I liked when we got Richard Dean Anderson back, and he's in his bed under the covers in a fetal position, and then everybody's standing around him in his room, which
It's funny.
yeah, which is probably not the way you want to wake up with all your coworkers standing around your bed, but
No.
Yeah, that was super awkward. I would say that the 17-year-old version of me, the blonde 17-year-old version of me, really thought the clone younger Jack was quite cute. Yeah, she definitely,
yeah,
thought he was attractive.
and I liked how they didn't hide the fact that he was 15, because you can see that they're covering up acne and
yes.
at different parts.
Yes.
And during the episode they'll like get more and less apparent and stuff. So I thought that was really cool.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like airbrushed teen star. He actually
No.
he is a teenager
He looked like one.
going
Yeah.
through. Yeah,
Yeah. There was I did like that. You think about, would you go back to high school? Jack asked Jack
Yeah.
at the end, and I'm like, I don't think so.
Ew, no way.
I don't think so.
yeah, no way.
Those were some difficult years.
Not even like difficult. I mean, because I had pretty good high school years and stuff, but it's just I've already done it. Just wouldn't have the patience for it. Doing it again. Yeah.
So you wouldn't want to be like Edward from Twilight and go through high school for like
No.
80 something years.
No. I'm
No,
just thinking
that
the
would.
drama, the angst, no.
Pretty sure
Yeah.
that's one of the circles of hell.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'd rather be like a Walmart or a Meijer greeter for 80 years than be in high school for 80 years. You get to see different people at least every day, and you don't really get wrapped up in their lives.
True.
Who knows? You might have some regulars.
No, that's true.
Mm.
Awesome. Before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secret to Stargate, including Kevin J., Bridget, Leo J., Michael F., and Shiloh S. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can find the video versions at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. To find previous episodes of Secret to Stargate and to send us feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. And you can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/starquestmedia and on Twitter at SQPN. And we'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the next episode of SG1, Orpheus. Until then, Lisa Jones, thank you for joining me and sharing the secret to Stargate.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you too.
Thanks, Jack, and my vitality was just fine, thank you.
It's more than I needed to know. And once again, I'm Jack Baruzzini. Thank you for listening to The Secret to Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?